Sure.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all doing massively well tonight. If you could just let me know if you can see and hear and everything looks and sounds okay, that would be fantastic. And then I'm going to introduce Imran, just in case you don't know who he is, which I'm pretty sure none of you in the live stream right now don't know who he is. And I find it kind of feels really weird. It feels like I haven't done a live stream for way too long, even though it's like 2 weeks. It just feels like forever. So do excuse me if I'm a little bit rusty. I'm sure Imran will take over and be much smoother than I am going to be tonight. Unless, of course, I have a few beers, at which point I'll be incredibly smooth. Okay, so thank you very much for letting me know that everything else is sounding okay and we're looking okay. So fantastic for that. We'll do a couple of welcomes in a minute, but first of all, I'd just like to bring in Imran. And for anybody that doesn't know you, Imran, like I say, I'm pretty sure everybody in here does, but would you like to just quickly introduce yourself and how people can find out a little bit more about your good self?
Hey, I'm Imran, Web Squadron from the UK. I am quite far from Paul, but we are both in the UK. Web design agency, but on top of that, we like to mentor and teach businesses and web designers with getting the best out of Elementor and WordPress and their agencies as well. We do a live chat on YouTube every day, well, Monday to Friday. If you want to find us, just do a search for Web Squadron. And I'm pretty sure you've seen me lurking around the Elementor Facebook groups. And I am messing around with bricks as well, by the way.
Shh, we don't talk about that.
No, we don't.
What happens in the live stream stays in the live stream. And tonight we're not talking about bricks. We're not talking about bricks. Although we probably will be talking about bricks in another live stream relatively soon, but we'll keep that for another. We'll keep that for another day. Okay, so I'll do a couple of welcomes in a moment. Right, Imran, your audio is a little bit quiet, so if you can ramp your microphone up just a little bit, that would be absolutely awesome. Brilliant stuff.
Cool. Yeah, do that.
Thank you very much, Michael, for letting us know that. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about a video that I released on Monday, which is Elementor too big to fail? And before we kick things off, let me just quickly say that neither of us are here to bash on Elementor. We're not going to give them a hard time. This is more about looking at the state of people that use Elementor, how they feel about it, the various different comments and feedback and questions that we get asked in our relative groups and in live streams and different sort of media, and what we think that Elementor could do to redress that balance, to gain back the trust of some of those early adopters that they've lost, who've kind of lost faith in Elementor as a platform. So this is more a case of a constructive look at people's opinions, the thoughts, the feelings that are out there, and like I say, our particular opinions on what we think they could or should do. But as always, this is I can't say two-way conversation because it's a multi-way conversation. So if you've got any questions at all on the topic or anything we kind of talk about during tonight's live stream, make sure you pop those into the comment section, into the questions, and just put hashtag Q at the beginning so it's easy for me to go ahead and find out what questions you are actually asking. So let's go through and see who's in tonight already. So thank you very much, first of all, for joining us. I can see there's quite a lot of the faces and names that I'm sure both of us are very, very used to. Good to see Jimmy in, skating choreographer. Thank you very much for joining. Andrew, good to see you in as well. Armin, great to see you in. Ripal, we've got Taylor, Michael Wright, we've got Volker. Glad to see you set your alarm and actually listen to it this time, Volker. You know what I'm talking about. Mark Harris, always good to see you in. We've got Thish. I'm always going to butcher that name, so I do apologise. Alan, Steve Perks, George, good to see you in as well. We've got David Walls, good to see you. Erling, BG. Wow, there's a lot of people in tonight, which is great. Carapos, good to see you in. Just going to say bricks just for Carapos, so it keeps him happy.
It does.
Anthony, Alexandros, well, Steve Perks, I already said Steve, so you get two mentions tonight. Tim Veach, good to see you in as well. Tahir, wow, Steve Stapleberg. Oh, look, I'm here as well. Anyway, so I'm not going to go through tons and tons and tons. If you are new to joining in the live stream, this is your first time here, put hashtag new into the chat so we can just say a little welcome and hello as we go through. And like I say, if you've got any questions on what we're going to cover tonight, just put hashtag Q so I can quickly go ahead and search for them. So I'm going to put a simple question out for you, Imran, to start off with. What do you feel is the current sentiment with a lot of people that you kind of interact with, people that are part of your group, people that you kind of see when you're in the Facebook group and so on, with how Elementor is kind of being perceived with updates and various different things, the general sentiment you can kind of see around Elementor at this point in time? I'd love to get your feedback on that.
Yeah, so I mean, we did a video about 4 weeks ago about version 3.7 and how it was a bit lackluster with the updates and some of the features. And we've spoken about that, so let's not tread old ground again. But when we had the updates last week, a lot of websites were breaking. Now, you could argue that you should get backup staging sites and all of that, but a lot of websites were breaking, and it felt like the testing hadn't been done. Now, I didn't have an issue because in most of my websites, because I was just using Elementor Pro, and I use very few plugins on the websites. But if anyone had any add-ons or anything like that, your website probably broke. And for some people, even when they rolled back, they still found they had issues. And what happened was, normally when there's a breakage and you go to the Elementor Facebook group or somewhere else, you will see maybe one or two posts. But it felt like a constant tirade of posts going up everywhere, people saying, look, my website's breaking. And you try and help people out, you try and advise them, but there was a lot of disharmony with people basically saying, hold on, why is this breaking? This shouldn't be breaking. This is such a basic thing that's broken. Why is this not being tested? What kind of got people even more annoyed, though, was that there wasn't really much support coming out as well. So some people were saying that they were contacting support desk. Now, I can't verify this. I'm only going by what other people were saying. But they were saying they were contacting support desks. They weren't getting much replies or anything like that. Or, what was it? 2 or 3 days ago, 3.7 disappeared off the WordPress repository. Yeah. Now, it did come back as well. Now, I don't know. Was that a glitch or was that intentional? Because there hasn't been any official communication anywhere for anyone to say that was officially taken off. So I don't know. Was it meant to happen? Or was it a glitch or not? But the general feeling is that, look, something I said in my live chat yesterday was, in 2022, what was the highlight of Elementor in 2022 so far?
It working.
And everyone will say, everyone will say it was the launch of the Flexbox container. That was it. We had loads of noise in February, and then that was it. And if you look at it now and go, well, is that all we've had in 2022? Last year, we had loads of little updates coming along and things were getting better and improvement, but that's all we've had this year. And how do I put it this way? I am now playing around with bricks. Let's just put it out there. I am playing around with bricks. Why am I playing around with... I know, let's just say it. I'm not leaving Elementor, people. I am still an Elementorist. I'm still going to be using it. However, given how we haven't had major improvements, I cannot ignore the fact that there are other page builders and solutions out there. And I was very surprised at the number of people who I know only ever use Elementor are now also using... Some of them have gone to Gutenberg. Don't know why. I know you like it, but it makes me shake. But I know but some of them are now thinking about breakdance and bricks and other things. So, I mean, yeah, I just felt there was a lot of unhappiness last week and still rolling on to this week as well.
I think you touched upon something there that I think is incredibly important, and I touched a point in my video as well, is there's no information coming out when things happen. And I think that is one of the biggest problems that Elementor need to redress. Was it pulled? Was it a problem? Was it a glitch? Was it aliens invaded the internet and they just rolled us back a couple of days to it not existing? Was it a glitch in the matrix? What was the reason behind it? None of us know because Elementor never tell us anything. And I think that is one of the biggest problems that Elementor really need to pull their fingers at the proverbial bottoms and start redressing it. I mean, how difficult is it really to just hold your hands up and say, there was a problem, we know there was a problem, we're really sorry with what's happened, and we are fixing it. But while we're doing that, we roll back so people don't update and have these problems or this problem or whatever the issue is. Let us fix it, let us find out what the problem is, and we'll roll out an update. But please, if you haven't updated yet, you can't update. We're rolling it back. We're sort of taking that away from the WordPress repository, and that's the biggest frustration. I think. I know for myself, I mean, I don't use Elementor as much, but most of my clients have Elementor. Do you know what I mean? So it's like whether I want to not use it for whatever reason, and I got no real reason to not use it, to look at it and go, I'll never use that again. I will use it in the right circumstances. And, I still use it on client side. So I still need to maintain it. All these things are important when they go wrong. But the thing I struggle with is this whole lack of feedback isn't something that's new. This has been going on since probably before, Ben left. And I know Ben was more of sort of like a mouthpiece for other people, as we've kind of found out. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. The fact is that there was someone that has a presence or had a presence in the sort of Facebook community for Elementor that took the time to come out and answer questions. Nowhere near enough. I kind of found that Ben didn't really say enough most of the time anyway. But something is better than nothing. And since then, nothing. It is literally release an update, radio silence. Look how amazing this update is. We've got 4 things in here that no one gave a damn about. But look how amazing it is. Something's gone wrong. Whoop. It's like tumbleweed moment. And I don't think they realize how much that's actually impacting their credibility. I mean, to kind of take you back to where you just said about your experimenting with Bricks. Now, I know Bricks is the one that you're currently looking on because I know people like Carapos and myself and that have kind of been just goading you. Just pull your finger out and just really go and have a look at it. But when you look at that community and the developer, and I know it's a smaller team, but the reality is that shouldn't make any difference. You can scale up, you can scale down. Without doing any of that, you've got a very small development team, but they're incredibly involved in listening to what the community says, being involved in answering questions. If there's problems, they address them, they sort them out, they update, and they even talk to the people that are actually saying there's a problem. We get none of that with Elementor. And look at the difference. Look at the sentiment. Forget the product, but look at the sentiment you have inside the Bricks community and from people outside of the community, but people that are using it and playing around with it, and how they talk about Thomas with a lot of respect. And then tell me you get the same thing with, actually tell me who that you could actually have any respect for with Elementor, because you don't really know anybody. You might know names, but you know nothing about them. They don't get involved in any way, And I think that's very telling.
Yeah, I mean, what I want to say, though, is that even though Ben left quite a while ago, there are a lot of talented people that do a lot to support Elementor. So, like Ziv does a lot. There's the moderators, there's Verdi, there's Susan. There's lots of people. There's Nicholas. They do lots of things. The trouble is, though, they aren't going to have the answers. No. So even though we might say, look, Verdi, what's going on? Nicholas, what's going on? Unfortunately, they're not the developers doing the number crunching or whatever behind the scenes. And it's almost like we need those people or someone with the authority to come out and tell us what's going on. I mean, touching on the question, which was to do with, is Elementor too big? Here's what I think is happening. And I'm going to use like the analogy of what happens with a lot of businesses. There is so much money invested in Elementor at the moment. Okay, let me reframe it, okay? I'm going to guess that nearly everyone on the live chat right now here has Elementor licenses. And let's assume that we've all got about 20, 50, 100 clients that are on Elementor. Even if Elementor is good or bad, unless we have the time and patience to port them over to a different page builder, and can you maybe get your clients to pay for that? Client ain't going to like it, are they? If you go, hey, you got to pay me to move your website into a different builder. So you're almost stuck with Elementor. So if you imagine, by the way, I don't know what Elementor make in terms of income, but let's just say they've got hundreds of thousands of people who have got some form of package. So every year there is recurring income coming in. And it's almost like they know that, well, so what if we don't do a good job this month? Or, well, so what if there's a problem? Either way, that money is still going to come in. And I'm not saying we are trapped, because we all have the power to go away and do what we want and unsubscribe or whatever. But because we have clients on the Elementor package, If I was to say right now, you know what, I'm not using it now, which I won't, by the way, I'm not saying that. But if I said that, I've got a lot of websites I've now got to work on. And believe me, you won't see me for a good year or two sorting all of that out. And I'll have to do it for free. Because I can't say to my clients, right, we're now moving to something else. And now you're going to pay me to rebuild it. Because they're going to go get lost. So from a recurring income point of view, they might go, well, why do we have to please everyone? And I'm not saying that Elementor are that devious. I don't think they are. But you can look at it from a point of view that I'm still going to be renewing in October, right? I've got websites I have to renew. Even no matter how unhappy I am at the moment, does it really matter? It's a bit like you've got clients of Elementor as well, Paul. So I'm guessing that if you're at a point where you have to renew, you're still going to renew. And the money is still coming in. And they're probably gaining every day as it is anyway. So if they're making a profit and the coins are dropping in, do they really have to bust a gut to keep things working well? Because in a way, we are slightly trapped. And I don't mean that in a bad way. If anyone from Elementor is watching, don't go cancelling my licenses, all right? Because I'll be in trouble. But I do wonder, though, has anyone got the appetite to transfer all of their websites over to a different page builder?
I suppose the way to look at it, though, is that's a relatively short-term business outlook. I mean, let me give you an example of my experience. Nothing to do with Elementor this time. This is Ocean WP. I mean, a couple of years ago, Ocean WP was my theme of choice. That was until Nicholas, the person behind it at the time, kind of disappeared for various different reasons. And I felt that the theme itself didn't improve. They moved over to the freemius model. That caused a lot of problems. All my sites all my client sites were literally no longer licensed, and all the things that go with that were a problem. So for me, it was a case of, right, I will no longer use that theme. But I still had a load of clients using it. So I still pay, at the moment at least, because I have a couple of clients still using it, but I still pay that annual renewal. And the same thing goes for Elementor. I mean, I was lucky enough to be on Elementor when it first came into Pro. So I'm on the legacy $99 per year. For me, that's I don't really care, because it's it's nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's one hosting per year will pay that and then some. So, but when those clients come back and invariably want a new site, or they want a site update, whatever, I would no longer then use Ocean WP. I would move them over to something else, whether it's Elementor and the Hello theme, whatever. So no, there's not a quick way of doing it, but this is something, and you can see if you take a look at Ocean WP, that was a very, very successful theme. But now it's not talked about in the same way as it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Influencers don't talk about it. People, when they put a video up, I done videos for Ocean WP years ago, and they've got 60, 70,000 views. They put a video up now in the same way that Visual Composer put a video up, and they get 10, 20, 30, maybe 100 views on it. So I think that's indicative of how these things will they have a natural lifespan. And when something big enough causes a problem, people will carry on paying for a short period of time, but the word doesn't take long to spread around with with YouTube, with the internet, with Facebook groups and forums and those kinds of things, for the word to get around enough that people lose faith in that particular product. And then the renewals only stay there for so long until clients have been weaned off. Or you've got, clients that they pay as part of their maintenance plan, their license fee is included in that for Elementor. Therefore, it's no longer the designer, developer, whatever's responsibility to update that. And as we know, lots of clients won't update and renew licenses and so on. So I think I do agree with what you're saying short term. But I think long term, if they do enough, or there's enough of a pivotal problem, they were very lucky with version 3 with the problem with that at the same time as WordPress released a major update. They only need one more thing like that causes a massive impact. Because you look at the number of companies that were really vocal in the Facebook group about how much money they were losing because they were having to go back and repair clients' websites for no money because of someone else's technical issue.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think if something like that happens again, and we continue with radio silence, and the perfect storm, then imagine if they'd done the pricing change, the license change, and they'd had the sort of the version 3 cock up in the space of 3 or 4 months. That would have been massive. But because it was spread out over a longer period of time, I think they were lucky enough that they might have lost people, but they didn't lose enough to be problematic, not to the extent that would cause a big problem for them. So I think, there is always that you only need one problem to lose your business. And I think that's something that they need to be wary of with this radio silence.
And I think in some ways, it could be the problem that makes people leave. But I also think that like I said, the amount of people I'm now hearing or I know that use Elementor who are now thinking of using a different page builder, it is surprising me at how it seems to be getting bigger and bigger on a daily basis. And I don't think a lot of people watching your live chats 4 weeks ago would have thought that I would have done videos on bricks, because that's a bit of a shocker to lots of people. So I think that Look, I'm not saying that we influence everyone out there. There's going to be people out there who don't give a damn what we say or what we talk about. But there will be some that if they start to see a lot of influencers or people saying, you know what, I'm kind of done with Elementor now. And I'm not saying that, okay? I am not saying that.
He is saying that.
But if you start to have a lot... I know. But if you start to have a lot of people sort of implying that, okay, then it will... So careful with my wording here today, aren't I? No, but if people start to imply it will start to move away into other solutions, then surely they've got to sit up and take notice. Because
well, you'd like to think so.
I think they will. I genuinely think they will because I'm quite well known on the Elementor Facebook groups. I get singled out for good reasons and bad reasons sometimes. Some people don't like it that I'm always on there. Some do like it. And the amount of private messages I've had this week has been quite astronomical with how many people are saying, are you leaving Elementor? Are you? And I'm going, no, I'm not leaving. I'm just playing around with another tool and all that. So, and I said it 4 or 5 weeks ago, there'd have to be a showstopper moment, something that really made me go, I need to protect myself and my clients and my agency in what we do. And I just felt that the 3.7, when we had the beta, I was like, whoa, what is this? Then we had the final version coming out. The fact that in 2022 we had Flexbox, but we haven't even got the beta version of that. We don't have a roadmap. We don't have mega menu. We don't have loads of stuff. Calculated conditional logic. And for any of you that have not watched the Bricks videos that I've done, go and watch them. Not because I want you to view the video, but my God, the WooCommerce filter system, the optimization, it's crazy. And I start to look at it and go, I wish they had been out 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now, because I can tell you now, if Bricks had been out 2 or 3 years ago, I'm gonna say it. If they'd been out 2 or 3 years ago, I would have been using Bricks. I would not have used Elementor. I'm gonna say it now. I wouldn't. And I'm gonna annoy George, who's on here, who is a Divi. He's a power Divi user. It's a bit like 2 or 3 years ago when I was making a decision over, well, what are we going to go with? And I was looking at Divi and I was looking at other stuff and I looked at Elementor and I was like, yeah, definitely not Divi. I'm going to go with Elementor. That's the kind of mindset I'm in now. And I'm pretty sure, like Paul, because you've done so much with Generate Press and Quickly and so many stuff. If they had been out 3 years ago, would you have still gone with Elementor? Or would you have maybe considered one of them?
I don't know.
Or Wix. Or Wix. God, don't say Wix.
Squarespace.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Squarespace. I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, at the time Generate Press was out. And people kind of get confused with what I say about, Gutenberg or Gutenterd. It's not Gutenberg itself that I think is good. It's not by any stretch of the imagination. It's getting better, but it's not good. I think what is good is when you have tools like Quickly tools like Generate Press and Generate Blocks, which is a very, very simple platform, and Kyle will sort of vouch for this, but it makes you think about design. And this is the thing that I always sort of smile at, where people talk about a tool like Elementor and you compare it to like something like Bricks, and they go, oh, but it's got way more features in it. And you could be right. You could say, well, look at the difference between WordPad and Word. But most people write a letter, they write an email, they might even write a book or a thesis or something. But the reality is, most people use a tiny percentage of the features that these tools actually offer. So it doesn't matter if it's got 1,000 tools. If you use 10 of them, and those 10 are available in Bricks, they're available in Divi, they're available in Gutenberg or whatever, it shouldn't matter. You know, those other things are irrelevant. They're no... It's like buying a Ferrari and you literally drive it to take the kids to school and you're a 20 mile an hour zone. Yeah, the car's capable of doing 190 miles an hour, but you don't ever do it. So you could have literally bought a push bike with a seat on the back to put your little kid in. You know, it's just irrelevant sometimes, I think.
No. This is that you've absolutely hit the nail on the head, because I'm looking at Bricks and I can see it hasn't got a load of the things that Elementor's got, but I don't need them.
Nope.
I'm happy with what I've got at the moment. And if you look at some of the things that have come out this year in Elementor, we had Notes. That felt like Atarim ripoff, but it's not as good. Then we had the bit where you can like click a button and it can take you into WordPress. That's a bit like the Bricks yellow button, isn't it? And you sort of go, stop trying to now do... Well, yeah, stop trying to do what others are doing and get your own house in order.
Yep.
And I am pretty sure at some point in time, I'm going to get suspended and kicked out of the Elementor Facebook group. I keep going, oh my God, one day I'm just going to say you are denied access or something. As long as I don't lose my licenses, I don't care. No, I do care. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, should I? I do care. God, I'm being a bit like... but it's just like... just don't give us gimmicks. Don't give us a fancy little toy to play with that might... Because whenever they do something new, you know, like they do a nice feature, we all go, oh, wow, that's really good.
Yep.
Oh, wow. But then later on we go, is that it? Like when they did the cart and checkout last year, I was like, oh yeah, finally. But really, it was just styling.
Yep.
You could break it up into two cups, but it was just styling. I'm not allowed to swear, but in Bricks, I can rearrange the goddamn fields. I can do so much more. And I'm not promoting Bricks here, by the way. There's other page builders and whatever you can do as well. But don't just give me styling, because to be honest, I could have styled the cart and checkout myself with CSS. So all you've done is given me a quicker way of doing it, but you didn't make it. What you didn't do was remove... Okay, sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up here. Some people use Woolimentor, Shop Engine or whatever, because you can do fancier stuff with that. What you've done is given us the styling options in cart and checkout, but you didn't do anything to say, right, we've now eradicated the need for you to use Shop Engine or whatever like that. Or Themify. Themify product filter is a great plugin. That's what I will have to use on an Elementor WooCommerce site. But on a Bricks site, I don't think I need a product filter system now. I can just use what they give me. And you sort of look at that and go... So a theme. A simple theme can do all of that. Yet all you've done is given me styling and colours. So... Look, if you're watching Elementor, I love Elementor. You know I love Elementor, all right? I love promoting it all the bloody time. But what I'm saying is, please, 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 do something more than just colours and typography, because I can do that anyway. You know, you click the section. Some people don't realise this, but you click the section, you can actually modify the typography and colours. Bit of CSS if you really need to. So, and... sometimes I say to people, don't change the layout. Don't overcomplicate it. You want to convert. Go to the cart, go to checkout, that's it. Don't do anything overly fancy with it, all right? Don't distract them. So, yeah, and like Kyle's just made for the first time ever in his life, Kyle has made a good comment. More things equal more support requests. Of course, you know, and I just say, at the moment, Bricks, and even Breakdance to a point as well, they're only giving you what you need to get the job done. Because in a way, if it's simple for us, it means it's simpler in terms of how you build websites as well. And if you're managing a team, or if you're handing over a website to a client, it's easy to do that as well. I'm going to shut my mouth now.
The thing is, I think what we need to consider when it comes to any of this is the reasoning behind a lot of why Elementor is slower. And whether we buy it or not, it comes down to that third-party ecosystem. And so many people say it's an amazing ecosystem. And in a lot of ways, there's a lot of possibilities and a lot of positives about having that ecosystem. Like you just said, you use Woolento, what they've kind of been rebranded as now, to do more than what you can do inside Elementor itself. And I've always wondered, why is that the case? Why is it the case that you've got the open API that Elementor have, and you've got other plugins come in and they do all the things, but yet Elementor can't do it, or don't do it, or won't do it? And I do think a big problem of why they're so slow is that third-party ecosystem. When you compare it, people go like, oh, but Bricks is smaller, they don't have all the third-party plugins and stuff like that around it. Well, you kind of have to, you can't have your cake and eat it then. If your argument for having all these third-party tools is because it gives you more options that you don't have and Elementor don't have, but the downside is that it means that they literally can't update things very quickly because it has such a knock-on effect with 1,000, for example, third-party plugin developers. Do you kind of get where I'm coming from with this? It's like you're kind of trying to have your cake and eat it.
So there is definitely a cat and mouse game going on here in that. Why don't we have a final version of Flexbox Container? The most likely reason is because the third-party products are haven't developed their products to be ready for it. But why would the third-party developers alter their products until they know what the final version of Flexbox Container is? Because you wouldn't want to adapt it to an alpha version, and then the final version moves the goalpost, and then you've got to redo everything as well. So it's like, well, who's going to make the first move? And when I worked in the NHS, we used to build a lot of systems for the hospitals and GPs to manage their information portals. For anyone who works in or knows the NHS in the UK, all the hospitals and doctors have different prescribing systems, different information systems, EMIS, all these other systems. I'm not going to mention them because they all sound like gobbledygook. Whenever we wanted to roll out a new update or something new, we had to go and talk to all the suppliers and say to them, right, this is what is coming. But we can't go live until you get all of your bits and pieces compatible. And when they were all compatible and you had sprints, you had dates, you made sure you had a project, and we said, we've got to go in 4 weeks' time. We have to go, right? No one's going to die, but we have to go. You QA'd it, you did it, everything was quality checked, assured, and then you went live, and everything worked. Because the third parties and you were on board with each other. We're not paying them, they're not paying us, but we were on board. And it feels like there are maybe... Elementor, they've been so successful, there are so many successful third-party products out there that maybe there's now too many. And it's almost like, how do they communicate? Do they just send out an email to, right, they know who the lead creator or developer is of Happy Add-ons. Do they just send them an email or a bit of script? Do they sit and have a conversation? Because I'm telling you now, Flexbox Container, you are not going to get to a final version until they know the third parties are ready, but the third parties are not going to change their product until they know the final version is ready. So something's got to give. Someone's got to cross the road. In fact, they've both got to cross the road, meet in the middle, hug and kiss, have a baby, do something right, yeah? But they've got to meet.
They did. They called it Bricks.
Yeah. Nice one.
And let's be honest about it, if they did cross the road and have a little kiss, one of us said, oh, Ferraris at 20 mile an hour would knock them over. But anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you do have a very good point. I think this is where the problem is. It's the chicken and egg, like you say. It's like, who starts? And at what point do they turn around and go, look, if this is a cut-off date, and maybe this is something they need to start doing. This is a cut-off date. And if you don't have it in you haven't sort of like opted into what we're doing by that cut-off date, then you're going to be marked up as being incompatible, and then it's down to you. And I know you can say like, oh, well, at the end of the day, then we suffer. But we kind of suffer anyway, because each of these updates that roll out generally have, varying degrees of problems and bugs. And you said yourself, you've installed an update today to 3.71, which is the latest update, and that's caused you a problem on some client sites, which you've now, after this live stream, got to go and solve. Well, you're not getting paid for that, are you?
No.
You're not here.
No,
do you know what I mean? It's just like, you now have to be out of pocket, both financially and time, where you could be spending time with your family, you could be spending time on whatever it is you want to do, drinking Pepsi. Netflix. Okay. But you can't, because now you have to go and retrospectively find a problem, or sort of solve a problem that really shouldn't be a case, because the problem is with Elementor itself. It's not with a third-party extension. It's not with something else. It's an integral part of how Elementor works, and you've got to solve that problem. And then you will probably go and feed back to Elementor, this is what the problem is, this is how to solve it, so you know about it. Well, doesn't that make you kind of feel like you're always a beta tester with no thanks?
Yeah, and that's how it is. Sometimes we all are kind of providing the feedback. What Elementor needs to do is become the King Kong. They need to bang their chest and they need to say, right, this is what is coming out in 1 month's time, and let all the developers know. Give them sufficient notice. If you think they only need 2 weeks, give them 4 weeks. Give them double the time. And then you make clear when you roll out. Because at the moment, as far as it goes, no one knows if Elementor is talking to developers. We know they are, but no one else probably knows that. So what they need to do is put it out there. We have now given notice to all the third parties that this is what we would like to have released on the 1st of October. On our roadmap, this is what is going out. And if those developers don't get their acts together and get it out, and you've got one of those add-ons, you now know that on the 1st of October, like you said, there'll be a list to say happy add-ons. By the way, happy add-ons are quite good. If anyone is here from happy add-ons, I hope you stay happy.
If Gobind is here, then be nice.
Yeah, if happy add-ons, and I'm not, I'm sorry to use your name, but I'm just as an example. If they haven't updated, you don't say, well, look at that, they've not updated. You just say, as far as we are aware, we have not been given the assurance, whatever, that these plugins are ready. And then you, as the end user, make the decision, am I going to update to version 5.7 or whatever they have in October, or do I not? So just be honest, just put it out there. And I'm not saying that to put undue pressure on the third-party developers. That's not fair. But we will have a better idea, because when Elementor 3.7 came out, it mentioned some plugins were not compatible, but there were lots of others, but they weren't mentioned. So the developers need to say to Elementor, yep, we're ready, we're good to go on the 1st of October, and then there's an updated list.
But just remember one important factor. What was one of the plugins that hadn't been checked or wasn't compatible with that 3.7 update?
Oh, yes, Elementor, yes.
So Elementor itself wasn't actually compatible with a 3.7 update that Elementor brought out. Is there an irony in there? Did the Q&A not actually, did they actually go back and do some beta testing themselves? But
I think that one, that one's usually, apparently it's due to something to do with the way the WordPress repository syncs. I mean, I don't quite get it myself how that happens, because surely someone somewhere is sat there going, this is not incompatible. Someone must be typing it.
Yeah.
Surely someone
it was still funny though. It was still funny though. It did make me smile.
Was, yeah.
I mean, David's got a very good point here, and it kind of echoes what you've just been saying. Saying in the US, Walmart is something like the equivalent to Elementor, However, when Walmart, the big gorilla in the room, talks, the suppliers jump. And I think to go back to what you said about might not be fair on the third-party developers to put that arbitrary date, sort of like timeline thing into it if you don't do it by that point. But on the flip side of that, they are building their platform off of Elementor, and therefore they have to take some responsibility for their product that requires Elementor. For example, if Elementor knew that WordPress was bringing an update out, And the case was, this is a really important change that you're going to have to go back and make sure that you are ready for that. That's Elementor's responsibility. And do you know what I mean? Because they've built their business on top of that platform, and then you've got other third-party companies that are building their business on top of Elementor as a platform. So their responsibility to you and I, if we're paying them, is they should be up to date with new releases and break-in changes and so on. And I think to go back to the container element, I mean, a lot of people are saying, and I would say there probably is a certain level of validity in this. You do wonder, do Elementor actually want to bring out that particular feature? Because if you think about it, if you look at the way it is at the moment with intersections and sections and so on, it's relatively easy for what we believe their target market is, which is people that want to be able to visually build a website and not necessarily have to deal with anything codey and stuff like that. There is a big difference in the complexity to understand how the inner container and the intersections and the sections and intersections and so on all work. That's relatively easy because there's only a couple of settings for it. But then when you take a look at working with the container, especially when you nest containers, and there's probably literally about like 50 different settings you can have on there. And I know you could visually play with it, but sometimes you kind of look at it, and unless you've got the right structure, then you click on something and nothing happens. So that means that it can be kind of confusing to understand. It's like, I'm clicking something, nothing's happening. Why is nothing happening? Well, it's because you haven't designed and laid things out in the right way for that to be able to work. But unless you know that, so you do kind of wonder, because I know Elementor have kind of targeted or positioned themselves with their pricing changes to be towards, they want agencies and so on. But I do kind of question if that's the typical kind of customer they have. Because I'm sure you as an affiliate, me as an affiliate for Elementor, you know what percentage you get and you know what money you make on sales. And I don't know if you've ever actually seen any of those agency sort of cuts in the affiliate side of things. Many of those come into you. So it does make me question how many of those they actually sell, especially seeing as they have now, and whether this has been ongoing for quite a while or whether this is the second time, you know yourself, because you said about today, the price on that agency has been knocked off by 60%. I know you don't get on renewals, but that's still 60%. That's $600 they've cut off that. And it's been like that for quite some time. They might have put it back up for a short period, but it has been like that for quite some time. And you do therefore have to look at it and go, that's the only one that currently has any discount on it. Any of the other ones, the $499, the $99, and the $199, all those kinds of things, they're all still at 100% their value. Yeah. But that one has been cut down now to $399 instead of $999. So I do question how many agencies, as we would consider an agency with like up to 1,000 license requirement, how many of those are they actually selling at the full price? I'd be surprised. I really would.
I would be as well. And to be honest, whenever for the last 2 years, when there's been the Black Friday discount deals and all of that, a lot of people that do go and get it, they tend to a lot of them were just going for the $199 package, which was discounted to about $150 or something like that.
Yeah.
They weren't even considering going up to $1,000. Not because they didn't think they were, which we talked about on today's live chat as well, about how many do we actually use up. But a lot of them were kind of going, well, it's a lot of investment. It's a lot of money to put in, in one go for something like that. And especially with the fact that it's only for the first year.
Yeah.
After that, you're back on the $999. And, when you think about it, $1,000 is $1,000, right? That's a lot of Big Macs and cheeseburgers gone.
And Pepsis.
So, yeah, well, let's not go there. That's 1,000 bottles, cool, that's like heaven. But so I would, and also I think they're starting to see the fact that there's competition out there. Breakdance, we don't know exactly what their final price for definite will be, but they're touting themselves as the new Elementor in a way, and they think they're going to be better. But what if it does become better and there is a cheaper model for that, or other page builders? Then we're not here to talk about the pricing and all that, but I do think that they made a huge mistake when they upped the price. I mean, lots of us are grandfathered in, so we're not. Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
it's
a mark.
No, we're grandfathered in, so we're like, we don't care. But I did feel like it was a really big mistake that they did that with, and we were kind of told at the time that it was going to have, obviously, it would help out with the support system in the back end, better solutions, better features. What did we get? We got the community hub. Look what happened to that. Yeah, and that's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I don't want to say something seems wrong, because for any of you that are part of the Elementor Affiliate Commission, we're now going to have our second change. It changed from whatever it was to Partner Stack. Now it's going to go to something else, and I'm sat there going, but what was wrong with I liked how it was originally, and then it went to Partner Stack, and then I got used to it. Now they've changed again, but we're not being told exactly why. It would be nice for someone to actually say, here's why, or what is the benefit of it, or anything like that. So it just, it's a bit like, look, just treat us all with a bit more. We're adults, a lot of us. I would like to think that 99% of the user base of Elementor are adults, but just treat us all with a bit of respect, because if it wasn't for us, you probably wouldn't have a business. And I'm not trying to say, hey, let's all go on strike and start a revolution. I'm not saying that. But just hear us out, okay? Just hear us out. What's Carl saying now?
Well, basically, to be able to talk about Elementor for 2 hours, you've got to be blasted. So, that is kind of amusing. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought now. Laith, no, I think you'll be the opposite way, if I'm honest. Take a couple of sips of beer and I'll go nice on Elementor. No. Look, I think when you kind of consider what a lot of the other ones are actually doing and what they bring into the table, you could consider the fact that, are they kind of gearing themselves to be in more intermediate kind of designer level? So Flexbox, CSS Grid. If you were kind of new to this and you looked at Elementor and you looked at bricks side by side, once you go past that initial sort of, they look similar, and then you start to dive in, it's the same as like Oxygen a couple of years back. When you kind of look at that, it can become kind of daunting, whereas Elementor is a lot more beginner friendly. There's also a huge amount of tutorials and help and support and things like that are out there. And I think that goes some way to Elementor's success in that regards. I mean, people like you, people like me that have spent a lot of time, me less so, but we spent a lot of time creating content, which I don't know if you were the same as me, but you don't really feel like Elementor as a company give two shades about what we do and the number of people. I would say that for any kind of affiliate commission, because people are always going to bring it to the affiliate commission kind of things, I would say for every one sale that comes through, someone clicks your link and actually purchases it to give you that, I would say there's probably 10 that don't. So when you scale that, that's an awful lot of money that you kind of put into the pockets of Elementor. So you would think, and I'm not talking about like people in the community and stuff like that, but you would think that they would want to nurture that relationship. And it kind of seems like in some cases, and I know I was talking to Jonathan earlier on about Oxygen and the time and effort that he's put into that, and other creators in the Oxygen sort of sphere, and how the people that are actually running the company don't really seem to pay any value to what you do for them. Forget the financial side of things from our point of view, but you do kind of wonder, do they feel like, you're getting some affiliate commission, so you should be grateful? But, you spend an awful lot of time helping and answering questions inside the Facebook group. I know Jonathan spent an awful lot of time creating live streams, creating videos and tutorials and things like that. And in his live stream, it was very much a kick in the teeth for him and other people. And you do kind of feel like you just kind of just ignored a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of a little bit sad, I think, when it comes to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, no, I do agree, and I mean, I have a good working relationship with the Elemental team, and I speak to some of them private chats, whatever. But it's not with the CEOs or the managing directors or anything like that, you know. And to be honest, right, I think sometimes I feel like they sometimes just look at us as well. We're here today promoting them, and if we're not here today, someone else with. I just want to make a point though about how. For people who aren't very familiar with building websites, whether it's Elementor or potentially with Breakdance or whatever, it's a great way to just start building. But what you will find over time is that what the tools they give you aren't all enough, and you're going to have to get dirty with CSS and classes and stuff like that. And that's where I think tools like Bricks and other new tools coming out as well is like the next stage up. Once you know you're comfortable with understanding why global styles and classes and all of that are important, Loop Builder, when you can start to do much more funkier stuff, that's where you're going to realize that actually Elementor is holding me back or stuff like that. There's only so much I can do. And is there an add-on? Yeah, okay. But then am I running a risk with too many add-ons and stuff? So I think that what they really need to do is kind of take a step back and go, right, we've got a great product. You can't deny it. It's a great product. But is it sufficient for the experts? I know we said we want to build a product where anyone can build a website, but there will come a point in time where that audience is now saturated or not satisfied by what we have. So what do we need to do to make it pop a bit more? Because there's loads of stuff that you can do in Bricks. If they were in Elementor, would I be using Bricks? And if anyone here is from Bricks, I'm sorry to say that, but there's a bit of truth in that. You know, if I could do a lot of the customization on the cart, the checkout, if it had a built-in filter system, if it was able to give me a high page speed performance without me having to load loads of optimization tools into my website and stuff like that. And, you know, I mean, come on, the global class system is amazing in Bricks, you know. If they were able to, if they spent the next year getting that into Elementor, maybe I would still have Bricks in my back pocket, but it might just be in my back pocket. And I might stick with Elementor. But what they need to do is now just open their eyes and go, what else is out there? When we came on the scene, we were the new thing. We changed the landscape. We transformed things. But now we're not the new thing anymore, okay? So what else is out there? What do we need to think about? And look, I'm pretty sure this is I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get like JFK'd on this, right? Lee Harvey Oswald is gonna find me with a sniper. But you acquired Stratic. You got a meeting next week that's going to tell us a bit more. I still don't know. What does this mean? I still don't get it. So I'm not saying don't acquire, but get your house in order and sort out the tool. Make it more innovative and adventurous. Okay. Transform it if you have to. Do what you got to do with it. Because then you could stop a lot of people from moving elsewhere or looking in different places.
Do you see that happening? Because I don't.
No, I don't. I don't even know why I said it. What the heck was I talking about? I don't as I was saying it, I thought, you know, right now, right, Elementor, they're either they've either shut down the live chat or they're weeing all over their monitors, all over the screen. I don't know, but I'm just. I don't know.
That's a TikTok I never want to see.
No.
Yeah. I think, like I said, unfortunately, I think they're a victim of their own success. The reality is, I think what's killing them is what's made them so popular over the last several years, and that is their third-party plugin ecosystem that kind of flows around it. That's the big problem. And to go back to your Stratic thing, I know that you and I have talked about Stratic in the past. I understand the benefit of sort of headless WordPress from a security point of view. But testing Stratic out myself, and I know you've tested it out, and I tested it out on its own, before I did the video, and I tested it out on the video live. So the results were exactly what you saw. I wasn't particularly impressed. I was expecting to see more of a speed improvement, especially with the Google PageSpeed Insights and so on. And it didn't rank that great when you kind of consider that's pushing things over to static HTML as opposed to being, dynamically generated and all that kind of stuff, with a lot more sort of back and forth between the server. And I didn't think it was particularly impressive at all. Really didn't. So, yeah, I do kind of wonder, what's the bigger plan? And I think this is the thing. I know one of the questions that was sort of popped up a little earlier on was, the cloud platform. And before we go any further with this, we're a fair old way into this live stream tonight. If you've enjoyed what we're talking about and you actually, give us some love, hit that thumbs up, help Imran get more Pepsi into his life. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, well, you can hit the thumbs down button twice. We know that works very, very well. But to go back to Stratic, I mean, I know you were kind of confused with the whole point of it, but do you think that maybe this is all kind of feeding into the whole cloud system? Do you think they're kind of going in a different direction and moving away potentially from the reliance upon WordPress? Or do you think there's something else going on?
Well, we've already kind of spoken about this, and I think it's definitely something to... It feels like it's more for the cloud, focused towards that. It feels like it's going to be something that might get... you can probably get it as an add-on to the cloud. So you have the basic cloud, and then you might have something else which gives you a Stratic solution. I just feel like it's just something that might be another way of making income. So you're going to try and say to people that, look, use Stratic, you'll have a much more secure website. But I'm sat there going, but how insecure will be my website if I don't use the Stratic headless solution? It also doesn't currently work with WooCommerce. However, if anyone signed up for next week's talk, it did mention in their drop-down, is your website a WooCommerce website? So maybe they have done a new solution for it, but there are already security plugins out there. There are already stuff that we could use for free. You could use WordFence, or you could use the all-in-one security firewall plugin as well. That one's for free. So I'm going... Do I need... And look, I'm going to deviate here. So some people are saying that, look, with the headless solution, your website is going to be a whole lot faster. Well, if you were to remove the bloat in Elementor, would I need the headless solution? So I just feel like they need to really look at Bricks and other products out there. I haven't used Breakdance yet. And I know you did that video recently, and it's like, so I don't know what's the page speed performance of Breakdance like. And if they're trying to compete with Elementor eventually, and they are able to do really good stuff on the performance, Elementor's got to look at it, and it's like look, we can all talk about how we all loved our Nokia phones, prior to 2007. And then the iPhone came, and oh my God, everything did change from that point onwards, right? Now you only see Nokia phones in residential homes. That's the only place you see them. You don't see them anywhere else, okay? So, it's like, what's really good now, and I can honestly tell you now that if in like 4 or 5 years' time I'm not using Elementor, I will genuinely be upset about that. Because I really love the product and what it's helped us do as an agency and our clients, and bringing new people who've never built a website or were scared of doing it, into the arena. So I don't want it to fail. I don't want it to kind of go downhill. I want it to get better and better. But they've got to take a step back. They've got to strategize and have a vision. And basically, what they need to do is sit in a room and go, right, what can we do to be better than Breakdance and Bricks and Webflow and other solutions out there? What can we do whereby even if GeneratePress and Quickly and everyone becomes super powerful in 2 or 3 years' time, how can we ensure that we're not just stagnating? Because there will come a point where someone's going to create a plugin for Gutenberg where all of a sudden it's as good as what you get with Elementor, like in terms of the features and stuff. And people are gonna go, well, why am I paying $199 or $1,000 a year? Why am I doing that? What's the point? 1,000 licenses? We asked it on our live chat today. None of us get anywhere near 1,000 licenses. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? So, solution comes out for 4 or 5 licenses. You're probably going to get your clients to buy licenses in the future. So do I need 25? Do I need 1,000? But I think that's what they need to do. They need to really evaluate what they've got and what they can do to improve it.
Let's be honest, WordPress plugin licensing is a strange beast anyway. Is one license is like $49, 1,000 licenses is $79. It's like, it makes no bloody sense. But I'm going to sort of pick up on a couple of comments that Roy has sort of posted up, because Roy used to work at Elementor, so I don't know what role he had or anything like that, but obviously he's got a little bit of the inside knowledge when it comes to some of the things that we may be talking about tonight. We're saying he can tell you that every dev has been notified to update their API. In other words, we're talking about the third-party plugins, but many just ignore it, which I think we can probably already see. And this is one reason sites that use third-party add-ons break when the API changes in new versions. I think there's nothing in there that we didn't already kind of know. But to kind of go back, and I know Roy was here at the beginning, so hopefully he's kind of heard everything we've talked about. I think this is the problem. When do Elementor say, enough is enough, we've told you need to update, we can't hold back on what we are doing for you? I know at the end of the day, the customer, we suffer from that. But then that's not their fault. Do you know what I mean? It's like we chose to purchase that plugin. Maybe it's because Elementor doesn't have a particular feature, but we chose to purchase that plugin. If that causes a problem in an update, at what point do Elementor say, enough is enough, we have to push this update out, we have to push this new feature out, whatever, we're talking about sort of minor things, major things, whatever. But that kind of feels like we are being held hostage because Elementor are kind of being held hostage by third-party companies that are not paying attention. So, there's got to be ways around this. There's got to be a way at which point you do just say, it's coming out. There's no two ways about it. It's coming out. Is it going to break sites? Yes, but it's not Elementor that's breaking the site. It's the plugin that's not updating when we've informed them 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever in advance. A new version of the API is coming out. You need to be updated by this date. This is the estimated date of release. If you're not, you will be listed as being incompatible. And then, like you say, it's up to the end user then to look at, am I using this plugin or these plugins? Yes, I am. I won't update. Or they take the risk and they update. There's just got to be a point where that's just like, right, we move forward.
Yeah, and I think they've got to go down the brute force approach. And the greatest example is take the iPhones, okay? When the iPhones moved to the Lightning adapter, loads of products out there were, unless you had an adapter or something, they became redundant, right? So once they had the Lightning adapter, which is that in case anyone is wondering what I'm talking about, okay, they did it. They almost didn't care what the fact that there were so many products that were now no one was going to buy them. They just did it. And a lot of people were like, oh God, I've got to buy new adapters and chargers and whatever. But we got on board with it. And all of the other suppliers had to adapt their products and change otherwise they weren't going to get sales. And I think they've just got to go with brute force and go, right, give notice.
Yeah.
So if you know that it's going to take a week or two for them to adapt to it, give them 4 weeks. Give them sufficient time. Do check-ins with them. Right, say, right, sprint 1, sprint 2, who's done, who's not done it, why have you not done it? We're not holding you into account. We're just letting you know that in 2 more weeks we are going to go live. So if you don't sort it out, fine, we understand, but that's up to you. But just go with that approach and just get it done.
Yeah, I agree. And Antonio's just pulled up a comment that I think is incredibly valid at this point as well. I think it kind of fits in nicely to what we're talking about. Is the reason a lot of us are using third-party tools is because integral features that we need, which sort of like tools like Breakdance, like Quickly, like Generate Blocks, like sort of Bricks, all those, they have loop builders, they have all these key things. Conditional logic is coming to bricks. I mean, at the moment,
Yep.
conditional logic is already there. It's just you have to manually code it, but it's already under the skin. You know, in the next version, hopefully 1.6, that will be a visual way of working. When we don't have those tools, I mean, Christ, the loop builder has been asked for since prior to version 3. When dynamic content came out, since that point, and I come across Elementor Custom Skin, I've been asking and commenting and saying we need this in core. We need conditional logic. How difficult is conditional logic? I mean, that's a basic requirement. You've given us dynamic content, but not every field is always going to be filled in. Something's going to be optional. What do we do with an empty field that just has the label there and nothing? It looks like shit. So if Elementor just turned around and said, right, these are key things based upon the tool set that we've given you so far. You know, not everybody's going to use them. We know that, but we've given you the ability to use these tools inside Elementor since version 2. Let's give people those things. Let's build them. Then we remove that requirement. Once you remove that requirement,
Absolutely.
then there's less third-party plugins are required. If people are using the free version of Elementor and they're using other tools that give them dynamic content, then they're using a combination of a sort of mishmash, well, that's the price you pay for the free plugin. Sorry to be harsh and horrible about it, but that's the price you pay.
That's the truth. That's the truth of it.
Yeah, if you don't want to buy the pro version to get all the features built into the tool itself, then that's up to you. But without doing that, and this is the thing I think that frustrates so many people, like Antonio says, it's like it's been asked to exhaustion since version 2. How long ago was version 2 released? 2.5 years ago? Maybe longer? And you're kind of thinking, we're still asking, people are still asking for the same things. And it's been hinted at, you'll be excited when you see the next update. I haven't been excited in an Elementor update since version bloody 2. Do you know what I mean? So
I recall your video. I recall your videos actually from then as well. You were very excited.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think that's the thing, like you said earlier on, when Elementor does something good, people say like, oh, you're bashing on Elementor, you're always bashing on Elementor. I'm not bashing on Elementor. When Elementor does something good, I'm one of the first ones to bring a video out and say, this is a really cool feature, it's been done really, really well. Unfortunately, that's becoming fewer and farther between because they're bringing out pointless bloody low-hanging fruit features that most people don't care about. Who gives a shit about notes? You're going to use Atarim, you're going to use one of the other tools. I know it can be useful, but let's be honest, you didn't buy a page builder to have a client feedback option built into it. What would you rather have? Right. Conditional logic or your mega menu or whatever you use in a lot of projects, or the ability for your client to feedback with little notes that once the project's done, you're never going to use it again. Do you know what I mean? It's like, which is actually going to make you more money and make your life, and ultimately, more importantly, make Elementor's life easier. Because when we run updates, we don't have to think, is it going to work with any custom skin? Is it going to work with dynamic conditions? Is it going to work with X, Y, and Z plugin? No, because it's all integrated into the core platform. So when something updates, they can test those things, hopefully, and things are smoother. But at the moment, they're making their own lives more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not gonna repeat everything you said, but if they get those features in, you won't have to use third-party plugins like George and we use Forminator for conditional calculated logic. If that was built in, we wouldn't be doing that. I mean, I will say though, if you do want to have notes, you got to use Atarim. Okay, if you do want to get some. By the way, I know Andrew Palmer, I saw his name there. If you want to get some content for your website, use Bertha AI, okay? I quite like using Bertha. Just going to give them a bit of a promo there. But if they build a load of that stuff in, and there is part of me that sometimes wonders, is it because they don't want to put other third-party plugins out of business? I don't know. I just don't know what's going on. Is it maybe they're worried about that as well? And maybe there is a bit of that as well, because I know they talk to a lot of the developers, but I just think that, look, if you build in... Okay, look, I like the Happy Add-ons plugin, but let's say Elementor does something that means there's a component in Happy Add-ons that is now redundant. Happy Add-ons are going to be unhappy, but it gives Happy Add-ons the oomph to go, right, now we got to do something different. We've got to do something different to what Elementor do, or do a new feature that you can't get on Elementor. It actually makes the third-party developers change. Because I tell you what, a lot of the third parties, they all do flip boxes. Well, yeah, we get that. They all do cards. Yeah, we get that as well. Oh, they all do nav menu. Yeah, we get that already. Sometimes I feel like the features they give you, they're not that different to what you could already do yourself. So really, I feel like, look, all you third partiers out there, okay, do something different, okay? You know, but let Elementor get the cool stuff out. And I think, I don't know, Elementor, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure they could say to Happy Add-ons or QI Add-ons or anyone, hey, we want that feature that you've got in our tool. So we're going to pay you to help you build it in for us. And yeah, there might be discussions about loss of income and whatever. And I'm probably talking out my arse now at this, and it'll probably never happen. But the amount of money that Elementor have got, I bet they could get some of those features built in. But again, I'm probably talking out my arse.
Let me go back to a point you made there. Is like they don't want to sort of step on third-party add-on toes. I think if you've got third-party add-ons that are bringing unique features out, that will be true. But let's also flip it around a different way. There's a lot of third-party tools out there that are just basically copying Elementor Pro and doing a slight variation upon it and then selling that. So people that don't buy Pro, strangely, will go and buy that add-on to give them Pro-like features. So you kind of think, well, this is part, if you build your house on soft foundations, right? In other words, they're building features that we know should be in Elementor. And you build your business around those things. I mean, if I give you a good example, Elementor Custom Skin, I've spoken to the developer. He only created that because it wasn't in Elementor and he wanted it for himself. He had no intention of putting it out there. And he didn't care if Elementor integrated it. He would rather them integrate it into Elementor so he didn't have to maintain his own plugin. Well, these are, do you know what I mean? If you are building features that should be, and at some point probably will be, that's your problem as a third-party developer. Do you know what I mean? I know that might sound harsh, but that is the kind of reality of it. You are just literally building tools and features that will be at some point integrated into it. But you're potentially making a good income. Plus, these might be an inroad into other tools that you offer because people like that you do a loop builder, for example, or they buy your suite of tools, Ellie, blah, blah, blah. You buy that suite of tools because you want that one feature, but you end up then using 10 other features in there. Well, if that one feature got replaced inside Elementor, would you not use those 10 other features? You probably would.
Exactly.
You still carry on using them because you like them. So I think, I don't think that should be such an issue. And like I say, I think the reality is that's not really Elementor's problem. And it shouldn't be our problem. So again, we don't want to be held hostage to features that really should be inside the actual plugin itself, but they've been augmented by third-party tools. I mean, conditional logic, we talk about mega menus, you talk about. There are so many things that have been added over the years that we've talked about, like you say, the notes feature and things like that, that most people, or a lot of people, I can't say most people, I use the term most, but lots of people probably don't care that they're in there, and they'll probably never use them. But there's obviously enough people out there. If you take a look at a tool like Bricks, you take a look at a tool like Breakdance, you take a look at Generate Blocks, for example, what have they all got in common? They've all released relatively recently, and all of them have a loop builder and the ability to be able to do those kinds of things. There's a need out there. Are they going, that's probably a bit of an advanced feature. Most people are never going to use that. No. They're looking and thinking, WordPress is a bloody loop. All your posts are a loop. If you create custom post types, all those items inside there are a loop. So what do people want? The ability to be able to customize the look and feel of that. What do we have with Elementor? 3 that haven't changed since version 2. Do you know what I mean? So you're kind of thinking, where's the logic in it? I mean, one of my popular videos is, I think it's 4 or 5 plugins that give you loops inside Elementor. And that's had thousands of views, tens of thousands of views. So that should be indicative that there's a market out there. That's not one person watching it 50,000 times. That's potentially 50,000 people that have watched it that all want it. That's a hefty percentage of people. How many of those wanted a notes feature? You know what I mean? But it might sound like a silly comparison, but it is kind of the truth. These other tools are looking at what Elementor is missing, what people are asking for, and every one of them have a loop builder in there. Every one of them have these various different features, conditional logic. You know, to lesser or greater degrees, they all have those features built into it. Yet Elementor doesn't. So you can't really say there's not a market there for those features when all these other ones are doing it. I mean, Christ, if you consider, we use breakdance as an example, it had that in the alpha build.
Yeah.
So that tells you that they know there's a market out there for it. So you build it in right at the beginning when you publicly float that product. You build it in. But
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think there's a danger that we just keep saying the same thing over and over again, and it's like what we now need to see is some action. And I think the simplest thing they could do that would actually satisfy a lot of people, even if we knew that none of this was going to happen for another 6 months or whatever, a roadmap.
Yeah.
So what bricks do, where we as users are allowed to upvote or whatever, they're going to have the final say, of course. But if we're, out of the 10 options they give you, if Elementor could just do that, and then if people go for the loop builder above everything else, fine, put the attention into the loop builder. It's like, for anyone who hasn't gone to the Bricks website, please go to the website. Roadmap, I think, is in the middle. I think it's the third option or the fourth. There you go. Look, look at this. Planned, next, and in progress. Next is not a clothing store. It is coming soon. That's what they mean, okay? And the fact that they kind of giving you notice about this stuff and potentially, we don't have dates, okay? We can't expect them to put dates on. I mean, what does next mean? Next year, next month, tomorrow? I don't know. But the fact that we get that, so we have an idea of what is happening now, what's going to come up next, and what's in the pipeline, that is what we need from Elementor. A roadmap. Give us the option to upvote. So if we don't want Mega Menu, no one really cares about it and it's dwindling and they don't do it, you can turn around and go, yeah, but nobody wanted it. So shut your face, okay? No one wanted it.
Yeah.
But the conditional, calculated logic, all of that was being upvoted, and that's what we're going to get. If you had an option on there for static, would anyone? But I'm just saying, I'm just putting out there, right? If you put headless on there,
we need a fourth column that says no one gives a shit about this one.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at the comments down here and stuff like that. So I just think that what they really need to do is do that, and that is not tricky to do.
No
one can tell me that behind the scenes, somewhere it might be a bit of paper on a wall, or it might be it might be a notepad document. Somewhere there must be something that says, here's the things we want to tackle. Because they must do sprints, they must work agile, they must have that. So just give us something to make us know what's coming next.
Yeah, I mean, when you kind of look at something like Bricks, I mean, where you've got the in progress, that generally, historically, has meant that in the next major release, those things will be in it. So I think we can probably say with a certain level of certainty that version 1.6 will have these in various different degrees of completion. But as Imran says, at least with this, you kind of feel like the people that actually use the product, or a percentage of the people that use the product, can help shape the direction. But I think the problem we've got is I don't think Elementor could complete those updates. I really don't. I think for the reasons we've talked about already, I would be surprised. I think they'd have so many things in there, like conditional logic, loop builder, and so on. They would all be things that people want, and I just don't think they'd add them. I really don't. I would be surprised if they actually have the impetus to include a lot of the things that we actually want.
I think it comes down to that if they could, they would have done it by now. And I think that sounds really harsh, but if they could, they would have done it. And I think that either it's the technical capabilities or maybe there is something with the infrastructure inside of Elemental where they've tried it behind the scenes and they've gone, this isn't going to work. This creates too many problems and it's just not going to work. So, they started somewhere and they built up, but in some way break down some bricks. They know what the people want, so they're starting to get those components in now. I'm pretty sure in 12 months' time, bricks will probably have a version 3 event like Elemental did where things go a bit wobbly. It's bound to happen. Everyone has this little bit of a blip, a glitch. But I have more faith in them. And I don't know Thomas. I've never met him. But I've exchanged emails with him. And I get this huge amount of honesty and transparency from him where he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to, answer my questions or go, this is happening or what. He doesn't have to do that.
No.
But there is this, compassion and integrity about how he comes across. And, what I don't want to happen is, and again, I'm digressing, bricks could... let's be honest here. All the third-party companies right now for Elemental, they must have their eyes on bricks and breakdance and others as well. And they might start going, you know what? Let's do some bricks add-ons and let's do this and let's do that. Because bricks is premium, if you want to use it, there is no free, other than the free playground version, which isn't going to be good for anything if you're rolling out a production site. Because it's premium from the get-go, I would like to think that we don't get, the market doesn't get flooded with too many third-party plugins. But in a year's time, are we going to be having a discussion, start going, there's too much going on now, and it's starting to affect bricks? I would like to think they've got their house in order, and it looks that way. They're getting out regular updates. The amount of updates they did in the 1.5 final version, what was it, 150 odd things?
Something like that, yeah.
And they were meaningful updates as well. Not like we have now corrected the typo for notes, which isn't even a real update, by the way, in Elemental. But, the updates are meaningful. You can go through them and go, right, okay, yeah, get that, I understand. So, and I was talking about this on the live chat today. Web Squadron, by the way, YouTube, if you ever want to find me. Nestable, if any of you have to use, you want to build a bespoke carousel with images or content or whatever, I always say use Testimonial Carousel. I always tell you to go and build a template, get the shortcode, boom, 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 job done. You can now do all of that on the screen in bricks without having to you basically create templates.
Yeah.
And you sort of kind of go, well, come on, Elementor. Make that possible in your tool. Give us the nestable feature. Get the Flexbox container finalized. Give us a nestable feature. Make it more efficient. Because look, we all say that Elementor should be used by people who can't do coding. But the fact that I have to do a video to tell people you got to create 5 templates. You got to put the shortcodes in. You got to modify this, modify that. You got to put this CSS code in to shut down the accordion or whatever. Or to even get rid of the extra space you get with your text editor. You know, the extra return at the bottom?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to do that. It should all be straight out the box, okay? So there's the challenge, Elementor, okay? I sound hypocritical because I still love Elementor. And I'm still going to be renewing and I'm still using you. But, and I'm going to put it out there, clients don't always stay. And there'll come a point in time where some of the clients that I have on care packages might leave or go elsewhere. When I get to the point where I know I've got clients that don't care what page builder they're using or whatever, maybe in a year, maybe in 2 years, unless I see, big improvements. Growth. I don't even know what I'm doing here. Unless I see big improvements.
Landing a plane, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I have to reconsider. I know. I have to reconsider. I have to reconsider where my comfort zone is. Yeah. And I can honestly tell you now, I've been blown away by bricks. I really have been blown away.
Carapos is smiling from ear to ear right now.
Oh God, Carapos, get your trousers back on. So you will see lots more Bricks and Elementor videos coming out. Okay, I'll still be using Elementor. I'll be doing more Bricks as well. But you're going to see a fair amount of stuff coming out.
Okay, I'm trying to burn that mental image from my retinas now. Right, we're going to wrap this up on this last question from Stargazer Design. So the all important question is: do you think Elementor will get its act together? I'm going to answer that one first before you do, because I think we'll probably have different opinions on this. Honestly, at this point in time, I don't think there's enough incentive, because they're still making good money with venture capital, with the investments they've had, with the cloud platform, and I'm sure they've got other plans for other things that take them away from their reliance upon the Elementor plugin. I honestly don't think they're going to get their act together enough to turn the tide back for a lot of people. I think their market is going to change, and I think their offering is going to change. And I think people like me that have been using this to build websites, and probably more advanced websites, and I think people like Imran as well, I do think there's going to come a point where we will no longer use it, or to the extent that we are now, that is the primary tool you may be using, like I know Imran does. So, I mean, that's my take on it. What's your take on it?
Very similar, but my answer is kind of links into something that Andrew Downey and Greg said, and this was already in my mind, in that I have a bad feeling that they're not going to do major improvements around right now, because they've got their eyes on some... Yeah, thank you, Mark Harris. I think they've got their eyes on some other prize at the moment. And if they move away from WordPress and decide they're going to create their own closed their infrastructure system like Wix or Squarespace, then I'm really sorry, but I am not sticking around with Elementor. There's a reason why I'm using Elementor, because it works with WordPress. When we decided we were definitely going to do our agency and set up, whatever we used had to work with WordPress. We weren't going to use Wix, we weren't going to use Squarespace or Shopify or anything like that. If Elementor ever moves away or whatever, or creates a marketplace system where I don't know, the way third parties work or buy into the system, that is no longer now in the WordPress arena, and I won't be using it. But I got this bad feeling. Look, we didn't bash Elementor 4 or 5 weeks ago. We didn't bash them, and I think some people said, "Oh, we bashed them," but we didn't intend that. We were just giving across an honest opinion. And if we hadn't done it on video, it would have been done as a blog post or a Twitter post or LinkedIn. It would have been the same thing we said. We just did it visually. What's changed? Oh, I know what changed. We had 3.7 last week, and loads of websites got burnt or whatever. So I have a bad feeling about this, Chewy.
If it wasn't for those damn pesky kids. Right, we're gonna have this last question. I'm gonna wrap it up then, because I'm conscious of the fact that this hour live stream has already lasted an hour and a half. Habit says, what if Bricks becomes like Elementor right now if investors jump in? Then I think we'll be having the same conversation we're having now, but it'll be about Bricks. But if I'm honest, I think you're looking at two very different products with very different expectations. I honestly don't think that Thomas is interested in being upon the same scale as Elementor is. I think if that was the case, there would be a free version of Bricks as opposed to it being a paid platform upon entry. So I don't see that being the case, but I honestly think that if that did happen, we'd have the same conversation. And I think this is the thing that needs to be taken away from what we're talking about today and any other times we've talked about similar topics. This isn't only limited to Elementor. If another tool that we were using in a year or two's time, and the same thing was happening, Bricks, Gutenberg, or any of the tools we're using, if they had the same things going on, we'd be talking about them in exactly the same way. So don't feel like this is something that we're picking on Elementor. We're talking about Elementor because it is the number one page builder in the Elementor space, in the WordPress space. It has something like 15 million sort of installs of the product. Therefore, it is going to get the largest amount of attention. And I think we've talked about breakdowns to a small extent. And I'm sure if I have Jonathan or Kyle come onto a live stream in the future, we will talk about the experiences of oxygen and breakdowns and their opinions of those, because they are things that have affected people, their livelihoods, their businesses and so on in different ways. I just think Elementor is a bigger marketplace, and therefore there's more people potentially affected by breaking problems, by features not being included that people want, those kinds of things. So don't ever think that we're picking on one platform and thinking everything else is golden and rosy. There are other things. Sorry, go on, Imran.
No, I was just going to say, look, if this conversation was about Divi, I would go on and on about how I would never touch Divi. I'm joking, George on here. But no, honestly, at the moment, I'm liking bricks, and I'm pretty sure there'll come a point where I get a bit annoyed with it. And I'm sure if I start using breakdowns, it was a bit like Gutenberg. If we had a conversation right now about Gutenberg, I know Paul's used it and he's got good words to say about some of the add-ons. I'm not really liking them at the moment. So it's not about bashing. It's just being about honest opinion. And we're not always going to agree with each other, just like neither with the audience. But the main thing is that we're listening, we're debating, we're talking about it. And there comes a point when Elementor can do as many webinars as they want. They can do as many promos as they want. About how good the tool is, but if we don't have an honest debate online, someone needs to do a webinar from the Elementor team where they start to go through these questions and start giving us either answers or reasons or clarity. If they do that, a lot of us will shut up and listen. But at the moment, there is nobody doing that, so we're having to talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, we can't ignore it. Because, we're not the only ones thinking it.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, is that people like myself and Imran, we have a platform. This is a way that this video today, over the next couple of days, we'll get a couple of thousand people watching it, catching up on replays and stuff like that. And my video from Monday about being too big to fail, that's like 9,000 views and so on. The whole point of things like this is to kind of put these opinions. It's like so many people comment and put things out there in the Facebook groups and stuff like that, and different questions have been put on in my Facebook group and Imran's Facebook group and Twitter and all those kinds of things. But you kind of feel like, do they just fall on deaf ears because there's so much noise on those platforms? So if it means that we come on and spend an hour and a half, or we create a video and we talk about these different things in live streams and pre-recorded videos and so on, if that helps take your concerns and puts them potentially in front of anybody that listen inside, in this example, Elementor, it's worth every minute of our time to do it. Because if we ultimately get the product that we actually want, and there's like a comment that pulled up earlier on, if we didn't care, we wouldn't be having these conversations. If we wanted Elementor to fail, we wouldn't be giving them these kicks up the arse to say, come on, give us the things that people want. Listen to what people are saying. Take it on board. Give us feedback. Be transparent. Talk to us. If you say you're going to put a feature out in Q3 of 2022 and then for some reason something happens, don't just go radio silent on us. Tell us, look, something's happened. There's knock-on effects to all of this, which means that the feature we said was going to come out this month or this quarter is going to have to be pushed back. There's always going to be a percentage of people that will be pissed and throw their arms up in the air and scream and shout. But the majority of people that say nothing will just go, at least we know that thing I was waiting for isn't coming now, so I need to plan for it, whether that means I'm going to use a third-party tool. And conversely, if you have no intention of including the feature or features that we're asking for, that you hint that you are looking at, and it might be in another version, Loop Builder is an example, Mega Menu is another one. If you have no intention, for whatever the technical business reasons, whatever, if there was a transparency there where people said, in Elementor said, we're not building it, so you're going to need to factor this into your future projects. If you want a Mega Menu, you're going to have to find it somewhere else. We're never going to include it. You would then go away and find that product, that tool, whatever it is you needed in the knowledge. But I think what we are struggling with, and I'm just talking from my own point of view, and I don't know, Imran, you agree with me, is we have no idea. We're constantly treated like mushrooms. In other words, we're fed shit and kept in the dark. And that's what frustrates so many people, I think. Would you agree?
I think some people like mushrooms.
Special
yeah,
kinds.
I would agree with that, and I do just want to say that look, 99% of everything I do on my YouTube channel is Elementor, right? So by me coming out, the amount of times I have in live chats on here as well, where I've spoken not negatively but really honestly about my thoughts and feelings about where I'm worried, that can hurt me and my channel, but it's better to have people who are honest and making you think as well and have questions in your mind and like having them debated out here, because we care about our audience as well. And what I don't want to do is keep telling people, yeah, use Elementor, use Elementor. I want to now say to people, well, what are you trying to achieve? What do you want to do? And is Elementor going to satisfy you? And if they say they don't want conditional calculated logic, they don't care about loops and all of that, they don't really care about loads of stuff, they want a basic website, then as long as you know you get Elementor Pro and you don't have any third-party add-ons, then you might actually be okay. But if they now want something a bit different, like right now, I can tell you now, if I'm building my next WooCommerce website, I'm not doing it on Elementor. I'm using Bricks. I'm telling you now, that is the way it will be.
My work here is done.
There you go. You know, I'm just like, I still have stuff to learn with Bricks, but that is where I will now go for my WooCommerce website. It's done. That's it. I've drawn my line in the sand now with that. But for a basic website, Elementor could still satisfy, but that says a lot because there's only so many basic websites you're going to want to build for your clients if you want to get high ticket items, right? So I just, you know, like I said, look, if there comes a point where where loads of my clients leave me or whatever, or they die or their websites self-combust or whatever, and I don't need 1,000 licenses, I probably will still renew it, but I will probably, you know, oh, I don't know. It's a difficult one because I still feel like I will still use Elementor in the future, but I honestly did not think I would be saying these kind of words 2 months ago. I think a lot of people didn't think I'd be saying these 2 months ago.
The thing is,
I've
though,
even
right?
changed the colour scheme. Look,
You
I've
have,
changed
yeah.
the colour scheme as well.
Bricks colours. The thing is, though, right? You say if you were going to do a WooCommerce project, you'd use Bricks, right? But you'd still use Elementor for other things. I can say with a certain level of certainty that if you started using Bricks, let's just say you had the next 3 projects were WooCommerce projects and you used Bricks and you got familiar with it and you're comfortable with it and you started to learn the nuances. When your next simple website came up, you'd go, actually, I'm going to try with Bricks. Because it's our nature. We all do it. We go, I'm going to try this, and it's like, I've got a reason to use this tool. But I'll go back to my old faithful. And then the next time you think, but it's quicker if I go into this one that I'm using now. Yeah. And that will happen.
I think I was kidding myself when I said that. And I think, yeah, you are right. Because I'm now going, well, what are Bricks going to do in their next update?
Yeah.
Wow, what's going to come next? Whereas with Elementor, I'm going, well, what is coming in 3.8? We don't know. I know. It's going to be Notes 2, when now you can add an image. I don't know. What are we going to get? I don't know.
We're going to get the container moving to Alpha 1.
Oh, I don't know why I have this strange feeling that either we never get the final version or we do get the final version, but I'll tell you what's going to happen. We will get the final version, but loads of people that have started using containers now on production sites are going to get a rude awakening.
Very much so. Something's going to change in there that's going to have a big impact and really knock things out. So, yeah, I think this is really important. I'm going to kind of wrap things up at this point. When you get people like yourself, and I use you as a good example because you have been such an ardent Elementor supporter, and you still are, and I'm not taking that away. But when you're already starting to look and you're already convincing yourself in your head, Next time I go into sort of WooCommerce, I'm not going to use Elementor. I'll be going to learning, because at the end of the day, you are having to learn a whole new system to build a website, because the features that you want are not included in the tool that you're comfortable with. So therefore, you were already in your head, you've resigned yourself to the fact there's going to be a learning curve, but you're more happy to do that than put up with the limitations of the tool that you've been happy with for many, many years. And I think that is something that is important, because I think you are probably more of a Elementor supporter than the average person that uses it to make some money, and they don't have that brand loyalty. And times like that should say something to companies like Elementor. But we're going to leave it there. And I'm going to say, if you want to just quickly tell anybody, if you want to find out more about yourself, how they can go about it, where they can find links about you and things like that, and then we're going to wrap things up. So I'm going to hand it over to you for the last couple of seconds. It's all yours, sir.
Yeah, so look, just go to YouTube, do a search for Web Squadron. You'll find our YouTube channel. Just watch some of our latest videos. In the description, you'll find a link to our Facebook group, where we do continue a lot of the chat. We are live daily at midday, British summertime, BST, Monday to Friday, where we talk about all sorts of things: websites, Netflix, Star Wars, Marvel, WordPress, Elementor, Bricks, breakdance, loads of things. Hope to see you all soon.
Thank you very much, Imran, for joining in tonight. Hopefully everybody's enjoyed tonight's live stream. Before you kind of head off to grab yourself some food, some beers, or whatever it's going to be, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already hit that thumbs up button. I don't know where the extra H come into that word, but hey-oh, what the hell. I will be with you again next week, and hopefully we'll be doing a video very, very soon with the people behind Freemius, where you can ask your questions regarding the platform, and hopefully get some answers on the questions and things that you have kind of pulled up quite a few times in various different sort of places, Facebook group, Twitter, and so on. So keep an eye out for that. As soon as that's available, myself and David McCann will be doing a live stream with Vova and one of the other guys over from Freemius. So that will be up very, very soon, hopefully next week. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and I'm sure myself and Imran will see you very, very soon. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to come and join us tonight. Take care.
See you later. Bye.